Did Ukraine make itself vulnerable to Russian attack by signing the Budapest Memorandum in 1994? Many people believe so. But the truth is very different. Let's break it down. When Ukraine became independent in 1991, it suddenly possessed one of the largest nuclear arsenals in the world, over 1,200 nuclear warheads, 176 intercontinental missiles, 44 strategic bombers, and more than 2,000 tactical nuclear weapons. On paper, it looked powerful, but here's the big but. Ukraine only had these weapons for 3 years and control was mostly in Moscow's hands. Even if Ukraine could operate them independently, maintaining this arsenal would have cost around $5.3 billion every year, more than 12% of Ukraine's GDP. By comparison, most countries spend just 3 to 5% of GDP on defense. In other words, Ukraine would have been spending more than double the global average just to maintain unusable weapons. Without production capacity, without tritium, and without command systems, these nukes were like owning a priceless antique car with no engine or spare parts. So Ukraine gave up its nuclear weapons in exchange for international security assurances. The Budapest Memorandum was signed by the United States, the United Kingdom, Russia, and Ukraine. The promises were clear: no threats, no force, no economic coercion, and a guarantee of Ukraine's sovereignty and borders. But importantly, the memorandum was not legally binding. It did not require military enforcement. Instead, it relied on diplomacy, sanctions, and United Nations action. At the time, Ukraine's borders were fully recognized, but there were demographic risks. Crimea was 60% Russian, while Donetsk and Luhansk were nearly half Russian. These areas later became flashpoints for Russian aggression. When Russia broke the deal in 2014 and again in 2022, the United States and the United Kingdom responded with sanctions, military aid, and intelligence support. Direct military action was never part of the agreement. And when the matter went to the United Nations, Russia, as a permanent Security Council member, used its veto to block action. Even if Ukraine had somehow kept its nuclear weapons, most would have been non-operational by 2022, technically dependent on Russia, and enormously expensive. Maintaining them for 31 years would have cost over $150 billion. Yet the 2022 invasion alone caused nearly $500 billion in damage. Nuclear weapons would not have prevented the war, and Ukraine made the only practical choice in 1994. The Budapest Memorandum did not make Ukraine weak. What made Ukraine vulnerable was Russia's geopolitical ambition. Giving up nuclear weapons was a wise and realistic choice. Ukraine's story is not one of weakness but of survival, sovereignty, and resilience.